Hi, and welcome back to the divorce journey. So, what I was talking about in our last video, which was the part two, was the thought about discernment counseling, how to really look at um, your partner and what you want, what's working, what's not, your roles, your grief, all of that. But one thing that we didn't talk about is if you choose gate door number two, then you actually need to work on the relationship. And how are you going to do that? So some people just start working on themselves and they start going to couples therapy. So if you're picking door number two, we're really going to roll up our sleeves and work on this relationship. There's many ways to do that, but you really have to figure out who is that person, because that person is critical. A lot of times people tell me they had a terrible couples therapist and it really kind of broke them up. And that's a scary thought, that someone at this moment when you're fragile will have that much influence. So I really want you to think about and do some reading on different types of therapy and what you relate to. So there's a lot of ways to work on your relationship. And I want you to identify also what some of the major issues: intimacy, communication, finances, how you raise kids together. Parenting style differences is the number one stressor. So is intimacy, so is money. So you might need a bunch of things to tackle some of the problems that you're having in your relationship. So off the top of my head, I have studied a lot of couples therapy and really think that some of the processes and the theories are very direct and are very helpful to identify the problem. I've mentioned Gottman. I've mentioned Imago therapy by Hendricks. It really looks at sort of family of origin injuries and how you pick partners that are very similar to your wound, because you're not trying to recreate your wound. You're actually trying to heal your wound, and you think you found someone that could help you do it. But you really have to look at how that might be a setup to fail. There's also developmental models, which look at relationships like a developmental process, just like we go from being, let's see, adolescents to adults. Our relationships develop also, and it's a skill set that we can learn. So this Couple Institute really works on the developmental model and how to look at how to gain skills um, in order to evolve, and then to apply those skills into your couple relationship. There's also Sue Johnson has a form of therapy that is interesting to look at. And some of the main concepts of that approach are, so she talks about emotionally focused therapy, where we really look at the attachment model, like how your attachment style is compared to your partner's. And we look at how we affect each other in the system that we are existing in, and how we start restructuring that system. So that's a very effective model as well. Intimacy issues, sex therapists, tantric practitioners are a direction to go. Finances, there's a lot of financial programs, going to financial advisors, actually going into a financial program. I have a lot of resources on my website about that, because sometimes we don't learn how to function well as adults from the families we were raised in, but we do have a choice to continue to develop ourselves outside of that time. And then there's also parenting. And parenting can be tricky because we're coming from our model of being parented, but also collaborating with the other person's parenting style. So a parent focus model. I always think about when you're raising kids, there's like three types of families: kid oriented families, couple oriented families, and family oriented families. And it's not to say that any one is the worst or better, but they do have an effect on the couple relationship. So kid focus means the couple relationship is not focused on that much. It's all the kids, what they want to do, activities, etc. And the couple relationship model for families is really couple focused. The couple's stressors, the couple's tension, the couple's desire for closeness and maybe time away from the kids is the priority. And then there's family focus, where everybody is affected in the by the family activities and emotions, and that's talked about and analyzed. And there's a protective barrier around the outside world and the family. So identify what it is that's going on in your relationship. What are the top two things you feel like you need to work on together? And then start honing into some of these therapy models. Do some research, figure out who's out there in your community, and really roll up your sleeves and see if you can actually create goals and achieve those goals over a period of time. That's the only way you're going to be able to know whether your relationship can work. And there's one other thing. I often see people not admitting to their substance use or their mental health issues. And those definitely have to be addressed, because we need to have a similar reality that we hold with both parties, right? If you're in a relationship, you have to share reality. But if we're using substances or we have mental health issues, we're not in the same reality. We're kind of reacting to that other person's reality, or the veil that might be over them if they're using substances or they're having a hard time with their mental status. So these are definite things that can contribute to stress in the relationship and need to be identified and worked on as maybe getting in the way of closeness. So if you're going to work on your couple's relationship and that's the door you chose, really give it all you got, because you don't get a lot of chances to work on the relationship and get it back. I often see people who have been in tension and had walls sort of built up between themselves for so long that it's impossible to tear them down after 10 years. So if you start seeing problems in your relationship, try to address them as quickly as possible, because healing is possible and it is a choice.